Hi there. We're continuing in Luke chapter 6 with the Sermon on the Plain, which is very similar to the Sermon on the Mount, which shouldn't surprise us that Jesus has the same things to say, whether he's on a mountain or on a plain. And this passage we're about to read, remember, follows up on Jesus saying, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." With the measure you used, it will be measured back to you. And so now he goes on to tell them a parable. And that's the context of this parable, so we want to keep that in mind. Because text without context is pretext, meaning without the context we put whatever meaning we want on what we're reading. So the context of this is Jesus telling us not to judge lest ye be judged. And then he ends it with, the measure you use is the measure with which it will be measured back to you. And now he goes on to tell them his parable. He also told them a parable. Can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not both fall into a pit? A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone, when he is fully trained, will be like his teacher. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, Brother, let me take out the speck that is in your eye, when you yourself do not see the log that is in your own eye? You hypocrite! First, take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take out the speck that is in your brother's eye. The word log here is the same word they would use for building plank as well. So if you want to put it in a modern context, you can picture one person with a little piece of sawdust stuck in their eye, trying to get it out. And another person walking up with like an 8-foot building plank sticking out of their eye, going, I see you have a speck of wood in your eye. May I help you with that? You really need my help to get that out. And remember, this is in the context of judging and being gracious with others, because the measure you use with others is the measure with which it will be measured back to you. And so what Jesus is saying here, again with this illustration, is your primary spiritual work is with yourself. You've got this huge log in your own eye, and you walk around thinking that it's your job to judge other people, that you walk around thinking it's your job to be spiritually discerning on other people. No, he says, the first thing is and in proportion, think of the proportion between a little tiny speck and a huge log. That's the proportion of the work that is your own work, that is your own spiritual work. Jesus said to not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And it's you to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's not your job to go transform other people's minds. It's your job to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and not to make the mind of Christ grow in other people, but to let the mind of Christ grow in you. And so that's really the picture here Jesus is painting, is that, listen, you have all your own spiritual work to do. You're not supposed to walk around judging other people. Be gracious to them. And I think that the illustration takes us right back to that measure. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Don't walk around judging people. You're like a man with a log in his eye, trying to take a speck out of someone else's eye. And I'll tell you what, when you decide that your primary spiritual work is for you, when you decide that your primary spiritual work is for you not to be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, instead of walking around watching out for who else needs to be transformed, your life is going to be a lot more peaceful, and your life is going to be a lot more transformed for yourself, and it will be more transformational for those around you too, as you learn to operate in grace. And love, and to measure out the grace Jesus talked about from the previous time. So let your primary spiritual work be to pour out grace on other people. And in terms of getting stuff out of your eyes, let that be primarily about the things that you need to get out of your eye, not the things that you see that other people need to get out of their eye. Have a great day.